Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Many of you have been asking for a long time for me to record with face cam. Normally this isn't possible, but right now I'm at home for the next little bit, so here you go. In today's video, we're going to be talking about money market funds, particularly the funds that are offered at Schwab. You can see over the years we've received a variety of comments regarding these, and recently we even had one specifically requesting this video. So if you have any questions or comments, throw them down in the comment section down below and we could make a video just for you. Now there's a couple of important things to know regarding these funds before we go over the specific money market funds that are offered at Charles Schwab. The first thing that we're going to need to know is that with Schwab, the dividends that you receive go through on the 15th of every month. Unless it's a non-business day, then it will be the next business day that's available. And things are a little bit different in December. It goes through on the final business day of the year. From my understanding, this is just for tax purposes. But you can see on your screen right now, in the month of March, the dividends were paid out on the 15th, and I have mine set up to automatically reinvest, which is very convenient for compounding those dividends. The last thing that I think it's important to understand before we get into the variety of money market funds that you can see on your screen is the fact that these only settle once daily and they have to settle on a business day. Now what this means is whether we're talking about buying or selling, the transaction is only going to actually go through at the end of the trading day. So if you go ahead and put in a purchase order for this on Wednesday at 10 a.m., it's not going to go through until that afternoon. Same with a sale. If you put in a purchase order on a Friday per se, that order and the money that comes along with it once sold is not actually going to happen until Monday, which would be your next business day. So keep that in mind when it comes to trading these. You have to be careful. These aren't the types of things that you want to sell if you want to be able to buy something with that money on that same day. Let's go ahead and talk about these 6 basic money market funds that are provided here on Schwab. And you can see that they sort of come in pairs. We have our Schwab Government Money Fund, our Schwab Treasury Obligations Money Fund, and our Schwab US Treasury Money Fund. And with all of them, we have both the investor shares as well as the ultra shares. Now, the actual difference between those 3 categories of these money market funds just comes down to what exactly they hold. We're not going to get into that because I think it is a little bit unnecessary. If you're actually looking to purchase a specific one, you can go ahead and have a peek at it, but just know that they're all fairly conservative in terms of their holdings. Now, the difference with the investor versus the ultra shares really just comes down to the minimum initial investment, the ultra shares being 1 million and the investor shares being 0, and the yield. Obviously, when you have a higher minimum initial investment, a lot of times that's going to come with a higher yield as well. You can see it's about 0.15% more. Now, another thing to keep in mind here with these yields is that the expense ratio has already been factored in. You do not need to subtract the expense ratio from this yield that is given. And really, if we have a little bit of a closer look at it, it is that expense ratio that makes the 0.15% difference within the 2 money market funds. Here we have our investor shares, and we're just going to look at the expense ratio, which is 0.34%. And if we go ahead and switch that over to our ultra shares, the net expense ratio is 0.19%. And you might notice that that is a 0.15% difference, which explains our difference in total net yield. And finally, we have our prime money market funds, which are actually the 2 funds that I just showed you, the Schwab Value Advantage Money Fund, and again, it has its investor shares as well as the ultra shares. Now, you probably noticed pretty quickly that the yield on these funds is actually higher than the yield on all of the money market funds I just showed you, with 5.14% on the investor shares and 5.29% on the ultra shares. So now's where we sort of get into the idea of which fund is the best for you. One thing to keep in mind is that technically these prime money market funds are a little bit riskier, but once again, these are so safe that that is not really a variable that, at least for me, I'm considering when it comes to money market funds. Instead, what I'm going to be paying attention to is the taxation on these two different types of funds. So on the prime money funds, there is both state and federal income tax, and this is the same for a lot of these other funds as well, except for these bottom two. The Schwab US Treasury money funds, because they hold US Treasuries, as you can probably tell from the name, are 100% state tax exempt. Now what this means is, depending on the state that you live in and your general income tax situation, it could actually be more effective for you to buy one of these two funds, even at 5.01% per se, versus this fund at 5.14%, because it's not taxed at the state level. Now for me personally, I live in Tennessee, meaning there's no state income tax, and that is not a factor. So I'll be choosing this fund paying 5.14%, but for you, if you live in, say, California or New York, places with higher state income tax, it could be more effective for you to buy the lower rate fund, but avoid the tax. One more quick question to answer before we end this video. These funds are not FDIC insured, as you can see here on Schwab, but they are actually insured by something else, which is the SIPC, and it's insured up to $500,000. So anything under that, there is no real need to worry. I hope you did go on to enjoy today's video. If you did, make sure to leave a like down below and leave any comments or questions that you might have down in the comment section. But other than that, we'll see you in the next one.